What's up everybody? You're watching Model Aviator. I'm Adam. We have the FMS 64mm Futura Sport Jet here for review. This is a collaboration between FMS and Tomahawk Aviation in Germany. The Futura Sport Jet design has been around a while and it's a proven design. FMS promises a quick glueless assembly and in-flight a stable platform that's fast and maneuverable with trailing link suspension gear that's rugged and can dampen out the occasional bad landing. We're going to test all that and we're going to start with the assembly. The Futura is a plug-and-play platform, which means incorporated into the assembly will be choosing the receiver of choice based on what radio protocol you use and installing that in the airplane. We fly Spectrum, so we chose an AR630 receiver. That is an AS3X safe receiver. We didn't activate safe and we put AS3X on a switch. We took the time to dial the airframe in and get it set up with the gyro off. Then we turned the gyro on and dialed it specifically to the jet. That way we can tell you how the airplane performs both with and without stabilization tuned for it. When it comes to the assembly, once you get the receiver in, everything else is pretty much like any other modern day foamy. It is pretty quick, it is glueless, and it is simple. As you can see, there's a low part count. They'll start you with the main wings. There's a single carbon spar. Slide the wings on, plug in the flaps and ailerons, tuck the wires away, and you'll use 2 screws per wing to tighten the wings down. Next, you'll install your horizontal, plug in the 2 elevator servos, tuck the wires away in the channel provided, and you'll use 2 screws to tighten down the horizontal. Next comes the vertical. You plug in your rudder servo, tuck the wires away in the same place, and you'll use 3 screws to tighten down the rudder. The main gears slide into a hole on the bottom of the wing and then rotate until they clip into place. Your nose gear actually installs on a wire protruding underneath the nose. There's a flat spot on that wire and you simply tighten a grub screw on the front oleo onto that flat spot. The nose cone simply snaps into place. The Futura is available in 3 different paint schemes. What you see here with a base coat of red, yellow, or green. It's a 5-channel airplane, the 5th channel being flaps to help you with slow flight characteristics and landing. It does have a steerable nose wheel and the trailing link suspension works very well. The gear and the oleos certainly appear to be rugged. It has an easily removable top hatch with plenty of room to install your receiver and use batteries even bigger than the ones recommended. The Futura has a 35.4-inch wingspan. It's 39.2 inches long. Our example weighed 2 pounds, 10.6 ounces, ready to fly with the heaviest battery we used. It has a 2840 3150 kV motor, a 40 amp ESC, 7 digital 9-gram servos for the control surfaces, and 1 analog 9-gram servo for the nose wheel steering. Before your first flight, the manual is a good place to start. Worth noting, manual is good at describing the few steps to assembly, and when it comes to setup, there is a preliminary setup to put in the airplane before you fly it for the first time. Obviously, your fine-tuning happens after you fly it and you see what it needs. They give you a CG idea, they give you some throw ideas. They leave expo up to you, but that's really personal preference anyway, so that's not a big deal. Before you fly the airplane, you want to make sure all the control surfaces are mechanically adjusted and you want to double check the 2 push rods on those dual elevators. Ours weren't coming up at the same rate, so I had to make an adjustment on one of the push rods so that I got the same amount of elevator on one side as the other as I pulled and pushed through the elevator range. We did deviate from the manual setup somewhat. We're going to put our setup info page next, so you can pause that, take a look at everything we did, and set yours up exactly the way we did if you'd like. Okay, we're going to get to flying. Before we do, I have a couple of quick thoughts. The Futura is pretty new, but it's been out long enough that there's a good bit of media already on it. I watched a lot of that stuff before I ever knew anyone was going to send us one to review, and I wondered why no one was taking the gear off and hand launching this airplane. We had full intentions of doing that when we flew it, then we got it. The Futura has a very flat bottom side, and there are no protective covers protecting the servo arms, push rods, and control horns for the ailerons and flaps. And even if there were, those covers would have to take the brunt of the pressure of a belly landing. So FMS's intention with this airplane is obviously for it to be a full-time gear-on sport jet. Now that's not a problem. Lots of sport planes have full-time gear. That's nothing new. But when it comes to sport jets or jets in this 64mm class, I flew quite a few, and most of them, they fly good with the gear on, but they don't get great until you get the gear out of the way and get rid of that drag and that little bit of extra weight. So it had me feeling like that this jet was a bit up against it, just considering that fact. The results surprised me. You'll see. The other thing to note, we used heavier packs than the suggested packs. They suggest 2200 to 2600. We used 2200s. We also flew it on 32 and 3300s. And to be honest, I prefer the airplane with the heavier packs. Note that all the flying you're going to see is with the heavier packs. So as you can see, the extra weight of the packs does not hold this airplane back. In fact, I think it makes it fly better for the style of flying that I like to do with a sport jet like this. And of course, you get a much longer flight time. So check out this flight demo, and we'll see you back here and give you our final thoughts. Enjoy the flying. We're going to set up here and do a slow pass with flaps down, then we'll turn around and do a wide open throttle pass. As you can see, sustaining a knife edge is no problem for the Futura. It's equally capable in inverted flight, and as you'll see here, we're going to maintain inverted flight easily at about 55 to 60% throttle. can't knife edge circle just any sport jet. So the fact that it was able to do that really impressed me. Does a nice tumble as well. One of the benefits of having a rudder. Not every jet in this class does. FMS doesn't mention flying the Futura off grass, but we figured as tough as that gear looked, we'd give it a go anyway. And we're going to go right into some stall tests. This is clean, and it just drops straight down, doesn't drop a wing. So now we're going to put the flaps down and do the same thing dirty, coming back the other way. And as you'll notice, it pretty much does the same thing. The wings rock a little bit and they threaten, but one of them doesn't drop. Bear in mind, stall characteristics can vary from one pilot to another based on setup. The amount of elevator throw, the balance point, and the overall weight based on how heavy your battery is can all have an effect on the stall. We're going to see how tough that gear is here, and no, I didn't do it on purpose. And there we have it. So a couple of things worth noting. We flew this airplane on everything from 2200 to 3300 4-cell packs. We preferred the 32 and 3300 packs. They're bigger, they're heavier. We got a longer flight time, and to be honest, to me, the jet felt better in the air with those packs. It's also worth noting that when I did the CG test, the flying test, even though the CG we got on the CG machine is forward of what the manual says the CG range is, the airplane didn't test nose heavy, and in no way during maneuvering did it feel or perform nose heavy. It wasn't hindered at all the way a nose heavy plane would have been. So the moral of the story is, when you get yours, know it can handle a wide range of packs, and if you have a wide range, it might be worth experimenting to see what feels best to you. So, as we told you earlier, we flew the airplane both with and without stabilization. We dialed the airframe in as best we could, and without stabilization, the airplane tracks like a razor. When they say that it's stable, I get where they're saying that, and it is, but the feeling that you have is that it's eager. It is ready to do something. And for an experienced EDF person, that's not going to be a problem at all. For somebody new to EDFs, maybe new to a high-performance airplane, that might make them a little bit nervous. When we activated the AS3X, got it dialed into the airplane, all that went away. It still tracks like a razor. You don't lose any capability, but the airplane felt and appeared more stable. Like something that's not going to make a less experienced pilot nervous. But when you start really moving the gimbals, it let you know really quick this ain't no trainer, even with the AS3X active. So I prefer it with a stabilizer versus without, but the airplane will fly fine without it, just depending upon what you prefer. And that brings us to skill level. This is a medium skill level jet, in my opinion. Would an experienced EDF pilot have a blast with it? I did. I think any experienced EDF pilot is going to just have a ball with this airplane. It is fun, it is capable. Would it make a good first sport jet? That's a multifaceted question. Maybe. It depends on the pilot, to be quite honest. If you're somebody that's just getting into EDFs, but you've already flown higher performance airplanes than a trainer, airplanes that are a lot more aerobatic than a trainer, you're not going to have a problem with the Futura at all. If you are a newer pilot and you've just ventured into the medium skill set and you haven't really flown anything a lot more aerobatic than your trainer, jumping into something that is that aerobatic, which is this jet, and an EDF, and something that is a lot faster, for the timid people in that category, there are probably better jets for that. For the really confident people in that category, even they might be able to handle this jet just fine, especially if they use a stabilizer that has self-leveling. If you get nervous, you just hit something like safe, get yourself out of trouble, calm your nerves a bit, and then get back after it. So all in all, I think FMS hit the mark. I've embraced what they're trying to do with Futura, and it's a good package. What they want is to give you a sport jet that does everything you'd like a sport jet to do performance-wise in an inexpensive, simple, convenient package. And that's exactly what the Futura is. $189 is a really great price for an airplane that is capable of what the Futura is capable of. And you get 3 color choices, which is nice. You just don't get that with every model out there. It's simple in that they omitted retracts. So that's 3 electronic components. You don't have to worry about failing on you. And to be fair, fixed gear can handle the occasional bad landing a lot better than any retractable gear can. So that is a real plus. And it's convenient in that this is a 64mm sport jet that you don't have to do anything to do whatever you want to do with it. You don't have to make any changes to get the most out of the jet. So if you want to do touch and goes, do touch and goes. When you want to do some of that funky fresh pilot stuff and fly the crap out of a good sport jet, just take off and do it. You don't have to take the gear off to get the most out of the jet. It can give you the performance you're looking for with the gear on. So you change nothing. You just go fly it. And I like that. So we had a great time with the Futura. If it's something that you think you might like to add to your hangar, we'll put a link in the description. When you go through that link, it helps support our channel and our efforts here at Model Aviator. When you do that, we appreciate it. Thank you. That's it for us. If you get a Futura, enjoy it. We are certainly going to continue to enjoy ours. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something else cool with wings.